What's up everyone? As usual, Anime Update channel is back and will give the updates about Anime World. In this video, we will discuss about Anime Boruto episode 219 entitled Return. But before that, don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe so that Anime Update channel will continue to improve in providing info and updates. Let's get right into the video. In the previous episode entitled Partner, the relationship between Boruto Kawaki, who already considered each other as brothers, and the final goodbye between Naruto and Kurama as a side effect of Baryon mode was shown. After Ishiki completely died from having been tricked by his own vessel using shadow clone technique, the situation they thought already normal turned out to be much worse than before. Boruto, whose body was controlled by Momoshiki, managed to pierce Sasuke's eye, destroying his Rinnegan, so there is no other way for them all to return to Konoha other than restoring Boruto's consciousness from Momoshiki's control. In the end, they did manage to restore Boruto's consciousness, but what they didn't realize was that Naruto's heartbeat slowly fading away, which they thought that Naruto was dead. On the other hand, Naruto and Kurama were in a state of life and death due to the side effects of Baryon mode, and talk one last time within Naruto's consciousness. At that time, Naruto thought that he and Kurama were dead, but Kurama made a surprising statement where the one who actually died from using Baryon mode was only him, not Naruto. In this situation, Naruto and Kurama's thoughts seemed to merge, where their thoughts connected to each other. Naruto saw the past that Kurama had experienced, as well as Kurama, who seemed to see small pieces of their memories together. In a split second, the memories came back very quickly. It was as if they were living within the memories. Gradually Kurama's body disappeared into smoke, and when Kurama's body completely disappeared, Naruto seemed to be forced back to his senses and found Boruto crying, holding his hand tightly. In this episode entitled Return, we'll focus more on how they all returned to Konoha village, after the final goodbye between Naruto and Kurama, as well as the long battle against Ishiki and Borushiki that determined life and death. Their lives will never be the same as before, where Naruto lost Kurama forever due to the side effects of Baryon mode, Sasuke lost Rinnegan due to his eyes being pierced with a kunai by Boruto, whose body was controlled by Momoshiki, Kawaki no longer had the karma that had haunted his life since childhood, while Boruto had a fear of Momoshiki appearing and controlling his body again. According to Boruto, the real horror is not fighting against a strong enemy like Otsutsuki, but fighting against himself that even himself can't recognize anymore. After Kurama's body turned into smoke and disappeared completely, Naruto opened his eyes, and saw Boruto gripping his hand tightly with tears at the corners of his eyes. In a semi-conscious state, Naruto called Boruto's name, and that's when Boruto immediately hugged his father while in tears. Boruto scolded his father a little for making him worried to death like this, but also grateful that his father had come to his senses. On the other hand, Sasuke was silent, letting Boruto vent his happiness, while Kawaki immediately dropped his body to the ground, and sighed in gratitude that everything ended safely. After things got better, Naruto explained everything, from Baryon mode, its drawbacks, to Kurama's death. Naruto with a forced smile said that he didn't expect things to end like this. Naruto at first thought that he and Kurama would die, but in fact only Kurama died, and that fact made his chest feel tight. In the midst of the chat, Kawaki reminded them that they could still talk about this when everyone got home. Because it would be very dangerous if they stayed in this dimension of nowhere. To return to Konoha, Boruto must use his karma to create a portal that connects this dimension with Konoha. But at that time Boruto seemed unable to bring out his strength, because in his mind he was afraid that Momoshiki would control his body again. Naruto and Sasuke were silent, while Kawaki said that his karma was gone forever thanks to everyone here. But even though his karma has disappeared, that doesn't mean his struggles stop here. Either way, Kawaki will help Boruto until the karma in his arms is gone, because that was a promise they had made before coming to this dimension. Boruto was happy to hear Kawaki's words, but on the one hand he also didn't know what to do. Kawaki was annoyed with Boruto, who he thought was stupid, not understanding the concept of karma, and shouted, asking Boruto to immediately use his karma so that they could all return to Konoha. Boruto replied to Kawaki's words with anger because Kawaki at that time seemed like a boss who controlling him. Suddenly Boruto's karma seemed to react, and a chakra aura appeared that enveloped Boruto and Kawaki's bodies. This is followed by the appearance of a portal through Boruto's karma. Everyone there was certainly confused by this, but they didn't want to waste this opportunity, and immediately entered the portal. With this everyone had made it back to Konoha. Even though Rinnegan had disappeared from Sasuke, and Kurama was gone in Naruto's body, at least they could all return safely, that was what they thought. And regardless of the debate they had before, Boruto admits that he seems to be able to do anything, as long as Kawaki is by his side. While in another dimension where the Jubi is kept, Code looks like he just woke up from a long sleep. Code yawning and then confirms the existence of the Jubi if the monster is still in place. After making sure everything under control, Code went back to sleep and then looked at his left hand that had the karma seal on it. Unlike the usual black karma seal, Code's karma seal is white, and don't know why it made Code sigh like he was annoyed. Code told himself that he would not waste the opportunity to become an Otsutsuki if he had perfect karma, unlike what he now has imperfect white karma. At that moment, suddenly the white karma on his left arm suddenly spread out, surprising Code as this was the first time this had happened. It didn't stop there, suddenly thick smoke came out of the karma seal, causing Code to wake up from his sleep. It was clear that Otsutsuki's horn appeared behind the smoke, revealing Ishiki's figure right in front of Code. Code himself doesn't actually know the appearance of Ishiki Otsutsuki, but he is clearly a loyal follower of Jigen, who is very obsessed with Otsutsuki. When Ishiki called Code by calling him his most loyal servant, that's when Code realized that the figure of Otsutsuki in front of him was Ishiki. Code must be very surprised by this, not expecting that Otsutsuki Ishiki is in front of him, and asks why he came here through his imperfect karma. Ishiki explains that fate is not on his side, and with all the vessels disappearing, he indirectly appears through Code's karma. But because Code's karma is white and imperfect, Ishiki can't resurrect through Code's body. Code is confused by this situation. He doesn't understand how Ishiki can't be reincarnated using Kawaki's body, but appears in front of Code, who can't be a vessel due to his white karma. Ishiki then explains about how Amato betrayed him by giving secret information to Konoha. Kashin Koji forced him to be reincarnated using Jigen's weak body. The karma in Kawaki's body disappeared due to Ishiki's reincarnation in Jigen's body, until in the end his life ended like this. Ishiki added, "It seems that Code's karma isn't perfect, so it doesn't just disappear when he dies like this." Code looked at the white karma in the palm of his left hand, then said that this karma of his was useless, and unlike Kawaki, he couldn't be the right vessel for Ishiki. Ishiki looked at Code, and then said that he would pass on his legacy to Code in pure power. Ishiki seemed to give Code the last of his powers, and made Code the one who would carry on the Otsutsuki will. Ishiki's soul would soon disappear, but that didn't mean he would let the Otsutsuki will also disappear with him, and so Ishiki asked Code to become the new Otsutsuki. Code immediately put on a serious face as if he was very interested in this, and asked what he should do. Ishiki explains that Code must capture either Kawaki or Boruto, to be food for the 10 tails so that the God Tree can thrive. The God Tree will produce a chakra fruit, which contains everything Code needs to become an Otsutsuki. By consuming the chakra fruit, Code will not only get enormous power, but will also get all the information on Earth, including about Ishiki, so that Code will eventually become a new Otsutsuki. Not only that, by becoming an Otsutsuki, Code will indirectly have the ability to create portals that allow him to go to other dimensions. With this power, Code will travel between planets, worlds, and even dimensions, to destroy and consume life there. Over time Code will continue to evolve, until in the end it becomes a creature with peerless power, a god. From the illustration presented by Ishiki, it is shown that God has hundreds of Jogons surrounding his body. One Jogon is already very terrifying for Otsutsuki in general, especially if have hundreds of Jogon like God Otsutsuki, then Code will become the ruler of this universe. That is the Otsutsuki will, and Ishiki believes that Code will carry out the Otsutsuki will to become a P-God Otsutsuki. Code sadly says that Ishiki is a god to him, so he will eradicate the person who defeated his god first to make up his mind. They are Kawaki, Traitor Amato, Uchiha Sasuke, Hokage Uzumaki Naruto, and the vessel from Momoshiki, Uzumaki Boruto. On the other hand, before Naruto and the others returned to Konoha, Amato looked very panicked and lost in thought. At that time everyone felt normal with Amato's behavior because the situation was very urgent, and if Naruto and the others lost, then the history of Shinobi World was over. But not long after that, Shikamaru got news of Naruto and the others returned to Konoha, and confirmed that Ishiki had been defeated. The return of Naruto and the others was welcomed by everyone, especially their families. Hinata and Sakura hugged their husbands worriedly. Himawari held Boruto's hand tightly because she was worried about her brother, while Kawaki immediately lay down on the floor feeling relieved that it was all over. While everyone was happy to hear this happy news, Amato still looked very worried, and asked about Kawaki's condition in a panic. Shikamaru once again confirmed that everything was fine, even though their bodies suffered injuries from the deadly battle against Ishiki. Sweat dripped from Amato's face, and blankly looked like he was thinking about something. Amato then said that he was grateful that Kawaki was okay even though his face didn't show that, and then Amato started trying to relax his body. Sumire, who was there, saw Amato's behavior very suspicious, because at that time Amato looked very obsessed with Kawaki. It could be that Amato is really worried about Kawaki because he feels responsible for Kawaki's suffering all this time, or maybe Amato is planning something bigger by using Kawaki as the main character. No one knows what was in Amato's mind at that time. A few days later, Konoha's condition had started to return to normal after they all recovered from their injuries. Naruto, who no longer has Kurama in his body, begins to serve again as Hokage after his position is temporarily replaced by his advisor, Shikamaru. Sasuke is still in charge of protecting Konoha from the shadows even though he doesn't have the Rinnegan. Kawaki still lives in Konoha, and every few times he has to undergo a checkup test to find out his body condition. While Boruto is a person who doesn't have much impact on his body, apart from having a fear of Momoshiki taking over his body. Even though their lives have started to return to normal, in fact Naruto can't move on from Kurama's death. Naruto always put on a strong face as Hokage, but in fact he couldn't escape Kurama's shadow at all. This is very natural because Kurama has been in Naruto since Naruto was born, as if Kurama has become part of Naruto's life itself. Naruto didn't expect that this would happen, the day he and Kurama parted ways, and probably would never see each other again. Naruto thought, if there's a way for him and Kurama to meet again. Because as we know, when the tailed beasts die, they can still be reincarnated even though the place and time are not known exactly when. One example of this is Isobu, who died along with its Jinchuriki, Rin Nohara. In the midst of his contemplation, Naruto suddenly seemed to be forced into his consciousness, and there he met the other tailed beasts. Even though Kurama is no longer in his body, Naruto can still meet other tailed beasts in his consciousness, because Naruto still has a little chakra from the tailed beasts. They realized that Kurama was gone, as the chakra connection between them all. And it turns out that it's not only Naruto who feels sad because of Kurama's death, but the tailed beasts also feel the sadness of being left by a part of their family. The tailed beasts gathered to pay their last respects to Kurama through Naruto, and told Naruto that they all ready to help Naruto if needed. Naruto with teary eyes thanked the tailed beasts for paying their last respects to his best friend, and appreciated the efforts of those who wanted to help Naruto. At that moment Naruto thought about how the tailed beasts were reincarnated, and asked whether Kurama could come back to life or not. Everyone was silent, not answering Naruto's question, until Son Goku sighed and explained about the tailed beast's death process. Normally, once a Jinchuriki dies, the tailed beast in their body also dies, and one day will be reincarnated because the death occurred not directly to the tailed beast itself, but through the intermediary, the death of Jinchuriki. But this does not apply in the case of Kurama, who died as a result of using Baryon mode. Son Goku admits that they actually don't know the side effects of Baryon mode because no one has used the last mode of the tailed beast before. But the worst case scenario of death due to Baryon mode is that Kurama cannot be reincarnated again, because Kurama died not through his Jinchuriki. Naruto was silent, didn't say a word, and had tried to hold back his emotions so that they wouldn't come out even though the sadness was clearly visible in his eyes. Naruto admitted that Kurama had become a part of his own life, and being left alone for a few days had made him feel very lonely like this. In his mind Naruto said that right now he really misses Kurama, whether it's a joke between the two of them, arguments and fights due to differences of opinion, or how Kurama reminded him not to be careless. Seeing Naruto's sad condition like this, the tailed beasts took the initiative to give Naruto a fist bump. In this situation, it's like Naruto was brought back to the moment where he, Kurama, and the tailed beasts banded together to defeat Tobi in the Fourth Shinobi World War. Naruto also seemed to be aware that Kurama didn't want Naruto to fall into a depression like this, and wanted Naruto to continue his life protecting the village as usual. Naruto immediately wiped away the tears that were dripping from his eyes, and then felt his spirit return. Naruto once again thanked the tailed beasts, and in that instant he was brought back to his senses. On the other hand, Boruto seems to be a rising star, because his name is no longer known as the naughty Hokage's son, but is starting to be known as a genius who has saved the village. Several times Boruto received calls for interviews for his efforts to save the village from the Otsutsuki. Boruto himself actually feels very unsuitable and doesn't deserve the flattery that comes to him, but he also has no reason to refuse the interview. The interviewer considered that it was thanks to Boruto's genius that Konoha's damage could be minimized, thus indirectly making him worthy of being called a hero who saved the village. Boruto dismisses this statement because according to him during the fight, he is completely useless and passes out unconscious almost every time. However, the interviewer cut off Boruto's words by saying that Boruto is very humble, because not a few people have witnessed Boruto's heroic actions firsthand. At that time Boruto and Sasuke made a very unexpected collaboration, where Boruto transformed into Sasuke's sword, so that it could not be reduced by Sukuna Hikona's dojutsu, and then gave a surprise attack using his karma to force Ishiki away from Konoha to another dimension. Although this action did not immediately defeat Ishiki, the people who witnessed still considered Boruto as a hero. Imagine, if Boruto didn't move Ishiki to another dimension, then Konoha's destruction would be certain magnitude because of Ishiki's, while Naruto and the others couldn't bring out their full power in the village. In this situation, Boruto is confused about what to answer from the questions and statements that are asked, and in his heart he wished this were over already. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Amato began to keep his promise to Kawaki before getting a summons from Konoha, who once said that he would make a new arm for Kawaki as his first assignment in Konoha as soon as all this chaos was over. As is known, Kawaki's right hand was destroyed and could not regenerate again due to Kawaki protecting the Hokage from Delta's beam attack. And instead, Naruto borrowed his prosthetic arm from Kawaki, and continuously used his chakra so that the prosthetic arm used by Kawaki could continue to operate. With the help of Sumire and Katasuke, Amato carried out maintenance aimed at restoring Kawaki's lost arm. Amato confidently said that this wasn't bad at all, and then asked how the new arm he had just created and Kawaki wore. While looking at his new arm, Kawaki thought that it was very different from the Hokage's prosthetic arm, which was warmer because his chakra and the Hokage's chakra were connected, and then admitted that it felt like his old arm. Katasuke looked at the arm with great interest, and couldn't hide his amazement at the genius of Amato who had created the arm. Katasuke in amazement spoke that he didn't expect Kawaki to get his arm back so soon, and even without any signs of resistance at all. Amato said that the arm came from Kawaki's own real cell, so it was only natural that there were no signs of rejection. Amato added that the arm was just one of the spare parts he made especially for Kawaki before his arrival to Konoha. This wouldn't work if Kawaki was just an ordinary human, and his whole body wasn't scientific ninja tools. As is known, Amato is a scientist who has modified the entire body of Kara's members with scientific ninja tools, so that their bodies can be called as shinobi wear itself. To undergo the maintenance process, Sumire is in charge of injecting medicine into Kawaki's arm. Before carrying out her duties, Sumire apologized as this would hurt a bit. But Kawaki responded rather harshly that he wasn't a crybaby, and Sumire just needed to do what she had to do without saying anything. Sumire was slightly surprised to hear Kawaki's words, which she thought were a bit harsh, and spontaneously apologized. Amato, who was usually indifferent, surprisingly lectured Kawaki by asking him to stop his rude attitude, and show a little gratitude to Sumire for taking care of him. Amato also considered that Sumire was brilliant and hardworking, so it would be very troublesome for him if Sumire ran away due to Kawaki's behavior like that. Kawaki looked at Amato with a bit of annoyance, because he didn't expect Amato's change in attitude like that. According to Kawaki, Amato currently looks like a boss who controls him, and acts like Sumire is his assistant, even though Sumire is a staff member of Dr. Katasuke. Amato was silent, while Katasuke, who responded to Kawaki's words by replying that what Sumire did was of her own volition. Katasuke added that to be honest at this time no one knew how to treat Kawaki's body, and therefore there was nothing wrong with having additional team members who could help with Kawaki's treatment. Sumire was actually still a newbie and only knew the basics, but she would try her best so that Kawaki wouldn't have to worry about maintenance issues on his arm. Besides, Sumire actually had other intentions of volunteering to become Kawaki's nurse. Sumire lowered her head, her face started to turn red like embarrassment, and she slowly said that Kawaki was always with Boruto, so she could have a chance to ask Kawaki everything about Boruto. Kawaki was just silent watching Sumire's behavior as if he was digesting the meaning of Sumire's words, and then bluntly asked about whether Sumire liked Boruto or not. Immediately Sumire's face turned redder, and she began to feel awkward until she dropped the injection she had been holding. Panicked and embarrassed, Sumire told Kawaki not to say it out loud, and asked him to keep it a secret between them. Katasuke, who saw this, couldn't help but laugh while thinking in his heart that it was obvious, while Kawaki seemed unconcerned, and said that it didn't matter as long as Sumire did her job properly. Since the weekly maintenance was over, Amato said that this was a very good progress, as he didn't see any problem with Kawaki's arm at all. But Amato also reminded Kawaki that he should come back next week, to do a routine check every week. Kawaki just said yes, and then asked if he could go now. Amato smoked his cigarette, and then called out to Kawaki before he left his place. Kawaki just turned his head to look at Amato, which was then followed by Sumire, who was starting to get suspicious of Amato's movements. Sumire felt that there was something strange with Amato since Ishiki was defeated and Kawaki returned to Konoha. Amato closed his eyes as if he realized he was getting suspicious, and he stopped his intention to discuss something with Kawaki. Amato just said no, don't worry, let's do it next time. From here Kawaki also felt that there was something strange about Amato's attitude, but preferred to ignore it, and then left the place. The conclusion of this episode, entitled Return, will focus on the daily life of Naruto and the others, after they managed to return to Konoha from a deadly battle against Ishiki in the middle of nowhere. In addition, this episode will also show more about Amato's role after joining Konoha. Although Amato did play a role in many things in a short time, the reality is that there are still so many question marks about Amato. What did Amato think of Kawaki, and what was his true purpose? Whether Amato can be trusted, or maybe he will betray by using Kawaki in the future, no one knows Amato's thoughts until now. That's all for news updates from Anime Update Channel. What do you think about this video? Give your opinion in the comments below. And if you like this video, don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss updates about the anime world. Thanks for watching, see you next time.